Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This video is going to be my top 10 favorite bronzers for fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Welcome to my second video in the cool slash fair skin friendly makeup series that I decided to do for 2024. We did blush last month, so this month I thought we could do bronzers, and a lot of you actually agreed in the comments that bronzer would be a nice next step. So let me know in a comment down below as well what category you would like me to do next. I thought we could do highlighters next, but that's up to you as well. So let me know what you would be interested in seeing. The plan is to do a video like this once a month, and today we're talking bronzers. In case you're new here and you've never seen one of my videos, then hi, my name is Micah. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which greatly influences how I feel about makeup, and I know the struggle of trying to find good makeup if you have very fair skin. So that's where a lot of my product recommendations on this channel come from. I have been a makeup reviewer for more than a decade. I love eyeshadow palettes, Estee, Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing. So where I'm coming from with this series is very much part of my intro that I always give you. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, so finding good products, I understand the struggle. So that's why I wanted to do this series. As I mentioned last time, we did blush, and this month I thought we could do bronzers. I have 5 cream bronzers and 5 powder bronzers that I would like to recommend to you. But if you do have cool toned skin, when it comes to bronzers, I think we all know the struggle, because bronzers can look very muddy on. Maybe they don't blend very well. They can be too red, too orange, too muddy, too green toned. Like, there's a whole host of problems that you can have if you're trying to find a bronzer for fair skin. And I think I've tried to decide for myself why I think bronzers can be a struggle for me personally, is because I'm so fair. I don't really tan naturally. I'm pasty pale. I'm Snow White. In turn, for me to even develop the slightest bit of a tan, I first need to go lobster red. And lobster red is just not a good look for anyone. So I just try to stay out of the sun. And I've decided a very long time ago that I'd rather be pasty pale than like sun-kissed bronze. I know that bronzers can look okay on me. It's just that not all bronzers look great. Before you come onto this video and go like, oh, but have you tried this like pink tone bronzer? Pink tone bronzer on me looks like a blush. I have the bronzer from Bare Minerals, which is supposed to be like a blush bronzer hybrid. I can only ever use it as a blush on me, because if I use it anywhere along my hairline, it just looks really strange. So I don't like pink or red undertones in my bronzers because it makes me look like I've got a rash. Or like I'm sunburned, yeah, rather than sun-kissed. So for me, that's not the look I want to go for. So there are a couple of things, though, that I look for when I do shop for a bronzer. A, it needs to be light enough. B, it needs to have a slight yellow undertone, because yellow neutralizes any redness you might have. And that's why bronzers go muddy or dark or weird on you, is because if you have a bronzer with an orange undertone, it's going to accentuate all of the redness you might have. And that's what stands out. Whereas if it has a slightly yellow undertone, it's going to neutralize it. So that's why a lot of the bronzers I enjoy, some of these are long-standing favorites, tend to be a little bit more yellow leaning. If a bronzer has a yellow undertone, I tend to like it on myself a lot more than I do when it has a red or an orange or whatever undertone. I have found that certain bronzers can even pull a little green on me if they have the wrong undertone. This is why I know I'm not an olive. I know some people want to insist on me being a very fair olive. I'm not. I just have a lot of plants and like green things in my house that have a bit of a reflect / cast on video, which is why it looks on camera like I might have a greener undertone, but I definitely don't. it's a camera thing. It's not a my skin tone kind of thing. Before we get into the main 10 picks though, I need to come on here and show you two of my favorites that feel free to track these down if you can still find them, but they were discontinued. But because I'm all about like using what I have, and I'm not going to stop talking about favorites even if they've been discontinued, I wanted to show you these. So one of them is more expensive, one of them was a drugstore product, and I will be swatching everything in this video for you, so like I did with the blushes as well. So this is my first honorable mention. We have the Becca. This is the Sunlit bronzer in Bali Sands. Oh, you can see my green wall that I'm sitting in front of in the camera right there. So here we have what that bronzer looks like. This is one that I've tried to hit pan on several times. It hasn't happened yet. It used to have a wavy pattern. I've completely worn that down. I think I might hit pan on this at some point, but this is really, really pretty. And here you can see what I mean with a slight yellowy undertone. This is super light. It is super duper light, especially swatched here. It looks almost yellow, but that slight hit of warmth, that's what makes it look like a bronzer on me. So of course you can go contour, and I have things in here that are marketed as contours, but they are too warm toned for my skin to be to be actual like contours, so I use them as bronzers very often. But this is definitely sort of like the bronzer vibe I like going for. That light, sort of yellowy undertone, and this shears out beautifully. It has a little bit of glow. It's got a really soft, smooth formula, and it's light enough that I can dust it all over my forehead. Very often, if a bronzer is too dark, it looks very unnatural on my forehead when I pull my hair back. So when I wear my hair down, I can get away with a lot more because my hair has a slightly like darker, like dirty, blonde kind of vibe to it. So that's why I feel that when I wear my hair down, bronzers look a lot better on me. The second bronzer that is an honorable mention is this. This is the Holiday Skin Bronzer. Look at how worn the packaging is. This is from Catrice. This is their luminous bronzer with macadamia oil, and this is in shade 010 Summer in the City. They still do this bronzer in the darker shade, but this single in this exact shade is no longer available. This is a lot more intense though than the Becca one. In terms of how it applies. The Becca one is a little sheerer. It's not as heavy on the skin. Let me see, I can put it in the right spot right there. Like it just has more pigmentation to it, but it's again like that same like super fair, very light sort of vibe. At least I feel. Like the Becca and the Catrice are very close in terms of the shade, and these two have like my perfect shade, you could say. We'll see some different shades of bronzer in a second when I get to the actual top 10. But yeah, these two were discontinued. As I mentioned, the Catrice one, you can still find Holiday Skin bronzers, as far as I know, but the deeper one is still available in the single compact. There is a duo with a highlighter that they released to replace this one, but I found that the shade of bronzer in there isn't the same as this, which is why I've kept my single around and I decluttered the other thing. But yeah, they still do a shade like it, but I felt it wasn't exactly 100% the same. Shall we do powders first, and then we'll end with the creams? Because the cream things are the newer things, and if you've been to my channel, you're gonna find some solid favorites in here. I haven't hit pan on any of these, but I've definitely mentioned these before, and I've put them in Shop My Stashes to try and hit pan on some of these, which has definitely been the case for this guy here. This is my Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer in the sun. It's got hard pan yet again. Like this corner keeps getting hard pan. I scrape it off, but do you see the dent? Do you see the dent in this thing? It's got a huge dent. I keep thinking I'm gonna hit pan on it very soon. I can sort of like see some rings in the middle when I look at this, but this is super soft. Like it's got a little bit of gray almost running through it. So this is what I just really, really like. As far as a fair skin bronzer goes, I think the Fenty is one of the best ones. Again, a very similar sort of vibe here with that slight yellowy undertone. It pulls almost peach on me, which I know for some people that may not look quite right, but for me, that one works really beautifully. Another long-standing favorite that is more of a drugstore pick is my KIKO Milano Flawless Fusion in shade 1. I always forget the shade name of this because they don't put it on the packaging. But here is what that looks like. This is quite possibly one of the lightest bronzers I own. It's super fair skin friendly, this line. Like, this is quite possibly one of the lightest bronzers I have ever found. I think the new Pat McGrath one that I just purchased is actually lighter, but I haven't tried that one on my face yet. But here we have the KIKO one swatched. This is the one where I feel like there's a hint of pink to it, but not really. Like, it still fits that vein very much of everything else I've got going on here. I just really, really enjoy that KIKO one. Like, you can see that it's like depth-wise, they're all like in a similar vein, but there's something about this formula that makes it super blendable and super easy to apply. And I've always mentioned how the KIKO Milano one is definitely like a wintertime bronzer for me. I tend to use this, like a similar type of bronzer from KIKO with a little bit more depth to it in the summertime, which is also why I have the second shade of the Catrice one, which is in the darker shade, which I like to use in the summertime. So I do have different bronzers for different times of the year, but these kind of work on me all year round, you could say. Another more affordable option is this one from Peri Para. This is actually a contour. They market this as a contour because this is a K-Beauty brand. K-Beauty doesn't do bronzers really. This is the Ink V shading in the shade Almond Brown. So for them, this is definitely marketed as something you need to use to like chisel out your cheeks. I do put bronzer here, but I spread it over a wider area and I sort of like try to like blend it into like my entire face and then like, down my neck as well. So I definitely don't use it as a contour. And this is just really, really pretty. It was a product that surprised me quite a bit because I had just heard so many people say like, okay, Beauty doesn't really do bronzers, but they may not market them as a bronzer. But if you have fair skin, look into K-Beauty contour products because they may actually work as a bronzer on you. Let me swatch it right here. Again, that compared to these, like these now look orange compared to this. This has a really nice yellowy undertone. It's super duper light. It just works really well on me, and that's why the Peri Para Ink V shading is really stunning on my complexion as a bronzer, not as a contour. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like contouring. Like, my face shape doesn't really allow it, I feel, but it's also a shade thing. Like, shades that are used on other skin tones to contour don't work on me because I would have to go with a straight up gray, which is also not the way it looks on me. It's just a struggle. So contouring is not something I really ever do. Here we have the Dior bronzer. This is their Forever Natural bronzer in shade 410 bronze. Not sure they still do this. This is as pink toned as I go. This is about as pink as it gets for me. This is it's so, so stunning. It is Dior, so it is expensive, but I've used this so much. And it's the one that where I feel it's got a little bit more pink to it. It's not a pink tone bronzer compared to like a true pink tone bronzer, but this is about as pink as I go. Like, compared to these, it probably looks a little bit pink. See? Do you see that it's got a little bit more of that pink compared to something like the Peri Para, which is a lot more yellow? Not sure if you can see that, but yeah, these almost like look like peachy tones in this lighting right now today. But yeah, that's one I really like. The Dior one came in a pretty extensive shade range as well. So also if you have very deep skin or medium skin or whatever skin tone you have, definitely look into Dior because they do a pretty good shade range when it comes to bronzers. Plus, it's one of the very few shade ranges I have found in terms of bronzers where they seem to do different undertones. So where they do bronzers that are super duper warm and like orange leaning, but also bronzers like this that have that like slight bit of like a pinky peach to it. And then we have this guy right here. This is the Nabla Skin Bronzing bronzer in the shade Ombre. This is a long-standing favorite as well. This is one of those gel to powder sort of powders. Mine looks absolutely ratchet, and I still use it because I love it. This is really, really pretty. Again, very light. In this lighting, it seems to have a hint of gray. So on some people, this may actually work like a contour, but on me, this is definitely a bronzer. Because of the formula, it swatches a little more full on with a finger than it does when you apply it with a brush. But look at that shine. It has a really beautiful glow for a powder bronzer because it is essentially a powder. So those are all of the powder bronzers swatched out, which brings me to my 5 favorite cream bronzers. And the first one I need to share with you is by e.l.f. I know a lot of people didn't love this, but I love this on me. This is their putty bronzer in the shade Feeling Shady. This is not one of the shimmery ones. This is just the matte one. And I know that a lot of people like this for contour, but I can use this all over my face just fine. So this is why I'm saying, like, look for things that people might traditionally or brands might be marketing as contours if you have fair skin to use instead of bronzer. Don't go for blushes, don't go for things that are pink, but perhaps go for something like this. It may actually work quite well for you because when you swatch it, it looks like a gray tone in the pan, but do you see how that warms up when you blend it? And I know that a lot of people didn't like the putty bronzer formula, but I like this on me. It blends in beautifully. It has like the undertone I like, a little bit softer, a little bit more gray to that, and it just works really, really well. Like, I wouldn't guess from the pan that this shade would be in there. Which is why I wanted to say yet again, go for something that is marketed as a contour shade to get your perfect bronzer shade. And similarly, another affordable product, this is from KIKO. This is their Sculpting Touch Creamy Stick Contour. It only comes in 2 shades, which is a shame. But this is shade 200, the lightest one. Again, the brand calls this a contour. So here's my theory again. Use a contour for your bronzer shade if you have fair skin. Rather than trying to find a bronzer that works for you, find products that work for you. This is also my philosophy when it comes to like clothing and clothing sizes. I never shop for clothing sizes. I never go into a store and go like, right, I need a blouse in a size 10 or 12. I don't. I go into store and go like, that's a cute red blouse. Oh, looks a little bit slim fitting, a little bit tailored. I don't want it to look very tailored on me. And probably to get that tailored look, I may need something else. So I'm going to size up in it to a size 14, 16, 18. So it's going to fit my body the way I want it to fit on me. I make clothing work for me, just like I make makeup work for me, rather than trying to find the product to be right for me. I've given up on that a very long time ago. And I think that we would actually find better products if we were to forego the marketing, if we were to forego the like claims that we find on packaging, and that we just go for the things that work for us. This looks like a bronzer shade to me. So I'm going to use it as bronzer. I don't care what it says on the tin. So if I swatch it, I need to do that here. You'll see that this is a lot warmer than what the e.l.f. has to offer. But if you look at all the other, like the powder bronzer shades, it's very close to what the Nabla one gives as well. Of course, I swatched it full on. So this is great for me for like the summertime if I want to give myself that nicely sun-kissed look. And because this is a cream, it shears out. You need to see this with a brush. I did use this on my face several times already in other videos. So if you want to see this going on with a brush, I'll leave it in the description box down below because this is too full on. You'll never wear a product like this full on all over your face. Especially not the way I like to apply it, because with cream products like this, I warm them up on the back of my hand, and then I use a brush to pick it up so it shears out beautifully. More affordable options in the cream bronzer realm. My Makeup Revolution cream bronzer in the shade Light. This is really pretty. Catrice do one that's very similar, but I think this is more widely available. And this stayed creamier in the pan. The Catrice one I had to warm up after every use, and this I could just go into with my brush straight from the pan every single time. So here is what the Makeup Revolution one looks like. Again, I'll put it here. It looks very sort of full on here again, but again with a brush. This works really beautifully on me. This has perhaps a little bit more of like a pinky red. I hadn't seen that before, but that works quite well for me. And then the thing that's on my face today, this was in my Shop My Stash for January, if you've seen that, and it's the Makeup by Mario. This is the Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. It's a mouthful, because if we're an expensive brand, we need to have expensive names. This doesn't come with a whole lot of product though. I use this as my only bronzer for a month. Look at the dent. It comes with 5 grams of product, which for how much you need to use isn't a whole lot. This is very sheer. And when I say very sheer, it's very sheer and it's very glowy. Like I need to dip my brush into this for my forehead, for the sides of my face, and for the other side of my face. So I go into this 3 times to get the desired look. But look at how natural this looks. It looks like it was supposed to be there. It looks like skin. It's got a little bit of glow. And I really, really like it. Like this is so sheer compared to any of the other creams that you can just use this the entire time. It's like the ones over here, the KIKO and the Makeup Revolution, a little bit warmer. It's not as cool toned as the e.l.f. one is, but this shade-wise just works so well because it's so light. It's never too much because of how thin the formula is. You may need to use a little bit more, but it works so well. And last but not least, I think in some recent videos, this actually came out on top as one of my favorite bronzers, and it's the Rare Beauty bronzing stick in the shade Power Boost. This is the lightest shade they do, and I really, really enjoy this. I'm gonna have to swatch it over here, but I'll do it like this because else I can't see. And this, like, it's quite similar to what the like KIKO one has to offer, like shade-wise, but this I feel has like just such a nice blendable vibe. With this, again, I warm this up on the back of my hand before picking it up with a brush. I don't use stick bronzers straight onto my face because I feel it messes with my base and I can't blend it out as well. So warming it up on the back of your hand is the key to getting a natural look and to make it look not overly done. But this shade works on me really well as well. You can see that really strong yellow undertone coming through again. That's what I was talking about. And this is all of them swatched. Here are the 5 creams. These are our 2 honorable mentions. And then these 5 are the 5 bronzers, powder bronzers that I recommended as well. So I hope you got something out of this video. This is how I like to go about my bronzing shopping, my bronzer shopping personally. I hope you got something out of it, that it was helpful. I definitely think that if you want to wear a bronzer and you have fair skin, you don't even have to, really. I know that there's plenty of people who are like, because I don't tan, I don't even know what my natural tan color would be, so I don't go for that, which is totally up to you. I personally like to warm up my face just a little bit to create some more dimension because I feel I look too flat, and I have this massive forehead that, especially if I pull my hair back, it's there. So I really like to enjoy, I really enjoy applying a bit of bronzer here to create more dimension and not have this like white block right up in your face. That's the reason why I wear bronzer. I'm not trying to like warm up my face or look more sun-kissed or like get the Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Lopez glow. That's not what I'm going for. I don't tan naturally either, so that's why I'm not wearing it. I'm just like, just creating more of a whole. That's the only aim I personally have with bronzer. And I'm not really expecting anything more. So that may be something to look into as well. If you have fair skin, that maybe bronzers can work for you in a slightly different way. Maybe that recommendation to use a contour as a bronzer can work for you as well. I hope you got something out of that. So thumbs up the video if you liked it. Thank you so very much for being here today. I make several new videos every single week. I will be back with a new cool toned video for sure next month. So let me know in a comment down below if you also think I should do highlighters next, because that's where my brain is going. So let me know, and then we'll talk more cool tones for sure. Thank you so very much for being here, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.